Today on Primetime Local News, why the city is looking to award a sole source contract for security at Bud Miller. And a class at Bishop Lloyd gets first-hand experience playing an Indigenous game. Plus, a number of Holy Rosary student athletes have signed on to post-secondaries.
I take a lot of pride in it. Playing for the U of S has been one of my goals.
Primetime Local News, serving the Lakeland and Midwest regions.
Here in Lloydminster, summer is right around the corner. When the sun's out and temperatures are up, Bud Miller Park is one of the city's busiest destinations. And now the city is looking to continue their security partnership with Lakeland College. No matter the weather or the day of the year, Bud Miller All Seasons Park is one of the most popular recreation destinations in Lloydminster. Lakeland College has been providing security services for the 200-acre park for a number of years. The last time the city publicly tendered security for the park in 2019, they received 4 bids ranging from just under $120,000 to just over $40,000, and Lakeland was seen as the best option.
They're right there side by side with Bud Miller All Seasons Park. And so when they're already, providing the security services there, it seemed like a natural fit for them to also provide security services for Bud Miller.
The city points to some key factors that makes the partnership with the college attractive. Security cameras are already in place that feed to the nearby college office. Security will do regular patrols of the park overnight and can respond quickly if an issue arises with no extra cost passed on to the city. During the height of COVID, Lakeland staff did additional walkthroughs of the pool.
They have 24-hour security services. They have a really good program in place for their own facility, and they've done a really great job for us in the past couple of years.
The existing contract expires at the end of June, and Lakeland says they'll be willing to extend the deal for 2 years at the same price as the 2019 agreement.
Whenever you can get something, a continuation in services or products at the same price as you had 2 years ago, that's a win as well. So we do appreciate the partnership that we have with Lakeland College.
Administration is recommending council extend the deal as a sole source contract. Councillor Laurel E. Marin says that makes financial sense for the city.
It seemed natural for us when we were looking at the renewal or looking to have to find someone new to provide security services, and they agreed to that 2-year extension, that we would go that route.
City Council will vote on the agreement in the coming weeks. Kids in a land-based learning class at Bishop Lloyd Middle School had the chance to learn about traditional First Nations games yesterday. A knowledge keeper joined to teach these students not only on games, but different methods of hunting. Our Shelby Clark has more in this week's Beyond the Classroom.
These are some of the traditional games that were shown to grade 8 students earlier in the day. The activities involved mostly hunting games, which focused on strength, conditioning, and endurance.
I wanted them to understand that this is one of the ways that we learned skills to survive. And also that our games still have some validity in them, and there's still teachings behind them. And this is a place of learning, so.
One of the games being shown is called double ball. That's another form of lacrosse. Kids split into 2 teams and would have to score points on each other by landing the balls on the crossbar to score.
There's different ways of learning, and I prefer like the hands-on learning there and getting out and moving, and to understand that as Indigenous people, we survived for like thousands of years. So, and these kind of helped us acquire those skills to survive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
With not only learning these skills and understanding the history of these games, this class enjoyed the activities Lamar was teaching. He hopes that these could be taught to more schools in the community.
We learned about what atlatls were and about a little bit of Cree history and some knife games as well, so that was fun.
I think it was really fun to run around and there's not that much rules and stuff, and to be free, I guess.
And that's it in this week's Beyond the Classroom.
At Lakeland College, our students are challenged to go beyond the classroom, so when industry knocks, they're ready to thrive. Learn more at lakelandcollege.ca.
And now let's take a look at some of today's agriculture prices. A number of Holy Rosary High School students have committed to various post-secondaries across North America. Evan Kenny has more on how Lloydminster has been able to move players to the next level.
Next year, 11 Holy Rosary athletes will make the jump from high school sports to post-secondary athletics.
So we in total had 9 today, and we have 2 that were not able to make it, but we have students going to different places in the States. We have the U of S. We have students going all the way across to the East Coast at Holland College for volleyball as well.
Athletes from 5 different sports, including football, volleyball, and basketball with Holy Rosary, have accomplished the goal of moving on with sports. This includes Raiders football defensive lineman Chaz Walker.
I think it's a huge deal, actually. I take a lot of pride in it. Playing for the U of S has been one of my goals. So to play for that team is a huge accomplishment for myself and for my mom, who's incredibly supportive of my journey.
Also included are hockey and softball, where the U19 Lloydminster Liners have had all but one player commit.
We've got 14 girls on our roster this year, and 13 are committed to college, and the other one's a grade 11. And she's going to go for sure. So the spotlight's been put on ball in this area. There's a lot of good, talented kids coming through here, and there's lots of schools now looking in this area for athletes, for student athletes.
A big reason for this, the Synergy Vault.
Yes, for sure. The Vault has had a large impact on even our community sports with our ball program here in the phys ed program. But it's really, really nice to see, even through COVID, we're still having athletes sign and play post-secondary sports.
You get a chance to touch the ball all year round, so there isn't an off season anymore, so they get to stay sharp all throughout. So it's a great way to keep girls focused on the sport.
Evan Kenny, Primetime Local Sports.
With the 31st Annual Senior Bowl taking place this past weekend, a few players from Holy Rosary High School represented Team North as the best high school football players in the province gathered in Lacombe for a battle of football. Adil Ahmed reports.
Well, after 2 years of having no Senior Bowl game here in Alberta, it's finally made its return with a vengeance as Team North took the victory this past weekend, 16-13 in overtime. And I'm now joined by head coach from Team North, Vince Oriole. Vince, thanks so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, Vince, just talk to me a little bit about that game, that thriller game that happened in overtime. Just what was your thoughts about your team's performance overall?
Yeah, just their level of compete. You know, they didn't give up. We had a hard time moving the ball, and it can get frustrating at times. But you know, I thought our defense was strong the whole game and just continued to create opportunities and flip the field for field position for our offense to get some opportunities and, you know, watch those guys finish off. It's great.
Well, what were your thoughts about Team South's performance? I know you guys were able to match it with that compete level. As it was a back and forth game, they took control in the beginning, but how impressed were you with your team to match up with that compete level overall?
Yeah, you know, they outsized us on the lines, which you know, we often see at the north-south games like this. The South kids have some really big bodies on the O and D line. They had some skilled receivers, 2 kids in particular, number 80 and number 88. They made some fantastic catches and were able to move the ball for their team. But overall, our defense was really solid. We were able to fly around. We stopped their run pretty good. You know, after the first couple of series, there was some big holes and big runs, and made a couple small adjustments, and we were able to contain that. And then it was just a matter of battle of field position. You know, they got a few opportunities. We took kind of a bend don't break mentality, and the kids played tough. And, you know, at the end of the day, we came out on top.
Of course, Laren Thiessen and Chaz Walker, players that you coached at Holy Rosary High School, were also a part of that North roster. Just tell me what that was like having those players with you at the event, especially guys that you coach all season long.
Yeah, no, it's special to have those kids. You know, they competed really well in the tryouts, and they stood out as kids that belonged at that level. You know, and then when we got into the insertion camp weekend here this past weekend, you can see that their level of football, their football IQ, their ability to perform on the field, they fit right in with the top kids in the province. You know, we had 130 kids at the tryouts, and it was really competitive. We had some really good athletes. So to be able to pick the top 40 and have 2 of our own as part of that top 40 in Northern Alberta, it's special for us as coaches, and it's fantastic for those kids to then go and compete at that level and see that they fit in. You know, they have aspirations for football after high school. Laren is committed to the Edmonton Wildcats in the Prairie Football Conference, and Chaz is signed with the University of Saskatchewan. So those are, you know, two solid programs, and those kids are going to be a part of that for years to come. And just for them knowing that, you know, this is a little taste of the level of football. You know, we're going to move through year by year with the same group of athletes, and going to get better together. And they've made some, you know, lifelong friendships at the end of the day too.
Of course, the Senior Bowl is such a huge event for all these high school football players that are a part of it. Just how much of a treat is it for you to see that much skill and that much talent displayed on the football field?
Yeah, I mean, you know, going in, they look to us for we have to know more than they do, and that's a challenge. These are high level football players who are coming from really strong programs. There's a mix. Like there's kids that are coming from provincial champions, and there's kids that are coming from teams that maybe didn't win a game this year. So there's a real vast sort of knowledge base from the bottom kid to the top kid, but they're all very athletic and they all come with their own skill sets. So the challenge for us is to put them in the right places at the right times and let them perform at their highest level. You know, we want to put their talent on display. So to see our kids compete against the kids from the South, and when you look down the rosters, you can see kids are signed with university programs, junior programs. Pretty much all of these kids are going on to play at the next level. So incredibly talented group from both sides, and it was hard hitting. It was fast. It was a very physical football game. Very much what you would expect from this level of athlete.
Well, that wraps up our interview. Vince, thanks so much for coming on and taking time out of your day to chat with me, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
And now it's time for another look at weather. Here's Shelby Clark.
Thanks so much again, Mr. Jason Mackey. Now taking another look at your weather forecast, we will be looking at the central zone of our provinces here. And we're going to be just checking out the temperatures of what we are sitting at. We are still seeing those double digits on both sides so far, especially on the Alberta side. We are almost even reaching that 20-degree point. So we are seeing slightly warmer than what we have been seeing earlier on in the week. 19 in Edson, while it's 18 degrees in both Red Deer and Rocky Mountain House. 16 in Edmonton, while it's 15, 14 in Whitecourt and over in Jasper. And Athabasca is slightly cooler, just at 12 degrees. Now switching over to our Saskatchewan side, here they are seeing those double digits. They are seeing slightly warmer compared to the Alberta side for sure, reaching past that 20-degree point. Prince Albert is just reaching 20, while there's 21 in both Melfort and North Battleford, 22 in Saskatoon, and Meadow Lake and Cold Lake are matching with us here in the border city at 19 degrees. Now going over to our northern zone to kind of see what they are sitting at. They are looking a lot warmer than what they have been seeing. You know, they've had this warm streak starting off last week that they are continuing till today, and they are seeing the warmest that they've seen yet, especially down in Flin Flon at 21 degrees. 17 in La Ronge, while most spots are seeing 14 degrees at the moment, and it is 8 and 9 in Wilson Lake and South End. Switching now back to our Alberta side here, they are seeing those double digits as well. They are seeing slightly warmer compared to the Saskatchewan side. Usually they mostly do. Slave Lake and Fort McMurray are both at 17, 15 and 16 in high level Peace River and Grand Prairie, and up in Fort Chipewyan they are still seeing those double digits, but slightly cooler at 13 degrees. Now going over to our southern zone to kind of check them out. Of course, they are seeing those 20-degree temperatures that we kind of expected. Lethbridge and Medicine had at 20 and 21, 19 and 18 in Calgary and Coronation, and Banff is slightly cooler, just at 13. And switching now over back to our Saskatchewan side, they mostly are all reaching past that 20 point. Yorkton is just at 19, so just a couple degrees cooler, but still quite warm. 21 in most spots on this side, while Kindersley and Moose Jaw are at 23, 24. So it's for some temperatures across these areas of the provinces, we almost are reaching even that 30-degree point as the summer season is slightly moving in. And now looking at temperatures of what we will expect throughout our evening and throughout the night, we are going to be kind of seeing kind of the same temperatures that we have been seeing throughout the week, seeing those plus temps at those single-digit points, but still plus temperatures, and better to see what we are used to, of course. Meadow Lake, Isle La Crosse, and Provost will be expecting to see a low of 4 degrees. Most spots will be expecting to see a low of 6. In Bonnyville and Pearson will be expecting to see a low of 7 and 8. So we are going to be seeing some nice warm temperatures throughout our evening, which is going to be great to see, and seeing some more clear conditions sky-wise. And ending off with our 3-day forecast for here in the border city, we will be reaching that 20-degree point tomorrow. So get ready to feel a nice warm temperature. We will be seeing around a 40% chance of some precipitation, but that will start off in the morning, and we will be seeing a little bit more sun throughout the day. Then we will be seeing 16 on Friday to start off the weekend. So still seeing those double digits, which is still quite warm. And then Saturday we will cool down slightly just to 14, but we will be seeing a mixture of some sun and clouds. So we will still be seeing a beautiful weekend. That is another look at your weather forecast. A lot more news coming up after the break.
Well, the Edmonton International Cat Festival is coming up this weekend, and I'm joined by two guests here who have a passion for animals, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation. You can also check them out at the Cat Festival coming up this weekend. So Amanda and Ariel are joining me. Thank you, ladies, for speaking with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Well, we're going to start by talking about rich kitties, because we're eventually going to get into how you can set up trust funds for your cats or dogs or whichever animal you have. But let's talk about some stories of animals who have been left incredible amounts of money by their owners. Amanda, we'll start with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Stacey. So I think in some of the research and preparation for this, we knew that cats had been left money in the past. And if you look in the Guinness Book of World Records, there's Blackie in there who was left $13 million, which seems like a lot at the time. But one of the really recent stories is actually about Choupette, who is Karl Lagerfeld's cat, who was left $172 million back in 2019 when he passed away. Now, I mean, she needs a lot of money. She's got 2 nannies, Louis Vuitton luggage, her own doctor, a bodyguard. So she seems like a pretty high maintenance kitty.
That is a crazy story. Ariel, you have a story in regards to Leona Helmsley, I understand?
I do, yeah. So Leona Helmsley was a fairly well-known and notorious celebrity, and I won't get into the reasons for her notoriety. But once she passed away, she left, this was a dog, not a cat, but still a rich pet. She left a $12 million trust fund for her puppy, whose name was Trouble. Unfortunately, she didn't get the best legal advice, and her intentions with respect to that trust fund and that gift weren't able to be carried out as she had originally planned, which will kind of springboard us into some of the further discussion that we'll have later about appropriately planning for your pets and making sure that what you do is legally enforceable.
Well, let's actually chat about that now, because Amanda, you are in the insurance industry, and Ariel, you are a lawyer. So let's talk about, we'll start from the insurance part, Amanda. How does it work, and how can you start planning if you decide you want to leave some money to your pet?
Well, absolutely. So one of the things to note is you can't designate your pet as a beneficiary, but you can leave money to them through a trust done up in your will. So you can't actually name, Choupette as that beneficiary on your insurance policy, but that's where you ask your lawyer, like Ariel, to step in and help and make sure that there is something there to take care of your animals if something were to happen to you.
Amanda, are there more and more people that are doing this?
So we're getting asked about it more and more, and can I leave money to my animal? Can I name my pet as my beneficiary? It's definitely an interesting time, and certainly, pets cost money, and while we might have great intentions of what happens to them, you want to make sure that there is some money there for whoever will be taking care of them after your passing, and you can definitely do so with insurance.
Now, Ariel, from a legal point of view, I guess, on this, what do people need to look at and consider if they want to, in fact, set up trust funds and make sure that everything is legally accurate?
I would definitely recommend that people who are interested in establishing trusts for their pets speak with a lawyer to make sure that the documents they're preparing are in accordance with our legislation and our laws. Legally, pets are classified as property. We all know as pet owners that they often mean way more than your couch or your desk. They're your best friends and your companions, so you want to make sure that they're taken care of almost as your children would be in your will. So there are different documents you can prepare that will establish those trusts. You can do an inter vivos trust, so that's a trust that's settled and established while you're still alive, or you can leave a trust for them in your will.
Now, you ladies are both going to be speaking at the Cat Festival, I guess virtually, through a session there. So is this the main subject that you will be talking about?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So people should come prepared with questions. Is there going to be an opportunity where they can actually ask questions as well? Or is it something where they can follow up? They'll watch, your presentation, and then if they have questions, they can follow up after. Do you know how that's going to be working?
We'll have time for both. So if there's any questions that we can't get to during the presentation, they'll certainly be able to reach out to us and we will help them answer those questions.
All right. Well, Amanda and Ariel, thank you so much for joining me. This is exciting to have the Cat Festival. I know it's virtual and we all wish that we could be there in person, but hopefully next year. So again, the festival is this weekend and Edmonton Cat Fest is the website you can look for to log on. And we look forward to seeing your presentation. Thank you so much for speaking with me today, ladies.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery and Furniture House, downtown Lloydminster.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us here this week for another episode of Healthy Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator at Hanka Divorce Law and Mediation here in Lloydminster. So Stephanie, today we're going to be talking about interests and positions in relation to negotiation between separating or divorcing couples. So let's start out by explaining exactly the basics. First of all, what's the difference between an interest and a position?
So this is an interesting one because it's quite legal speak. So I just really want to break it down because it's a very important concept as people are going through their separation or divorce negotiations. So very basically, our viewers can think of a position as a legal outcome. So it can also be seen as a demand. So an interest can be thought of that underlying reason why someone wants that particular interest. So if you think of the iceberg reference, the position is the tip of the iceberg and above the surface of the water, and the interest is that 90% of the rest of the why under the surface of the water.
Can you give us some examples, Stephanie, of position versus interest?
Sure. So I'll start out with the most classic example. So it's the example of the orange. So take, for example, there's one orange left in a box. There's two kids and they both say, I want an orange. I want this last orange. So this is their position. They want that orange. So for each kid to get what they want, stated based on their initial position, each of them is going to only get a maximum of 1/2 of that orange. We've got to divide it in two. But if they each needed the whole orange, then there's going to be a win-lose here, some kind of a compromise, and they're only going to get 1/2 of that orange. So if we go deeper and we look at their interests, we look at why does each of you want this orange? What's important to each of you? So we find out by digging deeper that one of the kids wants the orange rind to bake a cake and the zest. And then the other kid wants to make orange juice, so they want the juice of the orange. So in an interest-based solution, we can give one kid the juice of the full orange and the other kid the rind of the full orange. So by digging a little bit more into that why, we can actually achieve a win-win for each of the kids. But in the context of a separation or divorce, let's bring this home. So it might be someone saying, I want the family home, or I want 50-50 care of the children. So an interest would be the underlying. So with a home, someone might say, I want to stay living in the same neighborhood, or I want to minimize changes with our separation, or I want to not sell a house to lose money because the market's down. Or with the kids 50-50, you might say, I want a quality relationship with the kids, or I don't just want to be a weekend parent. I want to do day-to-day things and activities. Or I don't want to be replaced by a step parent or be forgotten about. So those are the underlying interests from that initial position that someone sets out.
So how would this concept be used then in negotiations between separating spouses?
So this is a negotiation technique where we dig for the why. It's called interest-based negotiations. And that's distinct from the what, so the demand, the positional bargaining. So interest-based negotiations is the foundation of negotiations in processes like collaborative divorce and mediation. So we dig for the interest, we find out the why, and then we craft resolution which meets everyone's interests and creates that win-win, right? They each get the orange, the part of the orange that they want. In positional bargaining, this is the basis of the court-based litigation model. This is what I want. Here's the reasons why I think I'm right. Here's why the other person is wrong. And then the judge decides who wins and who loses. So there might be a compromise, but in positional bargaining, there's a winner and a loser. So the difference in these negotiation styles is very stark, and it's not that there's a better or worse form of negotiations. In my practice, I only use interest-based negotiations to find those win-win solutions for families that I work with, and I use that within collaborative divorce and mediation processes.
Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, if people are looking for more information regarding this subject or any of the other ones that we've talked about during this time, what is the best resource kind of all in one place for them to find this?
Sure. So the best way to get in touch with us is to go to our website, henkadivorce.ca, Henka divorce.ca. On that website, we've got a contact form. We've got our phone number on there, which is 780-875-2234. And we've also newly introduced a live chat feature.
All right. Well, thank you again, Stephanie, and we will chat again next week.
Thanks for having me, Stacey.
Well, thank you for joining us for our first hour of Primetime Local News, and stay with us as our second hour continues next.